Legendary Pokemaster in a scenic place to talk about Smeargle, because it's kind of a controversial Pokemon. With Smeargle, it's really hit or miss, so we're gonna try to figure out whether or not it's worthwhile to train. So without further ado, let's start. Just like the last controversial Pokemon subject, Smeargle being used is more of a hit or miss. Why? Because of the weird stuff it could do. To judge it fairly though, we should probably see how everything is with it. When we take a look at stats, we see they're, well, pretty low. Its highest stat is speed, which tends to be actually an extremely useful asset. It could be helpful by letting you go first, giving you less worry about those defenses being so low. Another way that it's useful I'll discuss in a minute when it makes sense and is relevant. Its second highest stat is HP, which also aids the defenses, followed by special defense, and the last being a tie between attack and special attack. The attacks being the lowest stats are also pretty bad, but it's probably to balance Smeargle and not to make it too OP. Going over to typing, Smeargle is a normal type, which means that really nothing will be super effective other than fighting. And it has no resistances and one immunity, that being ghost type. Dang, with only one weakness, Smeargle must be able to pack those awesome moves it has without taking much damage, right? Well, no. This is Smeargle's entire moveset. No TM or HM attacks, no moves from breeding, nothing. You just get this a bunch of times. So what exactly is this especially powerful move that they made you learn this many times just to reinforce the fact that it is awesome? You use it and it copies the attack that the opponent last used. Permanently, I mean. It replaces the sketch. That's why you learn it a bunch of times, because the move disappears once you use it. Considering this, Smeargle can technically learn any move in the game other than Struggle, Chatter, and obviously Z moves. That said, this strategy could be useful and kind of a pain. First off, you could come up with some pretty powerful movesets that could probably prevent damage to you and, fully incapacitate the opponent. Things like, for example, Lock-On and Fissure. Yeah. That's basically it. Or you could learn Toxic, Protect, and Detect. It's good for a strategy involving these called Toxic Stalling because of the bunch of other moves that it has, which could be used to manipulate it to work better. You could even use it in coordination with other Pokemon, just using it to learn a bunch of good status boosters and then baton passing it. With all these strategies, this must be an OP Pokemon, right? No. You're never right. The thing about Smeargle is that it looks good on paper and in theory, but when you actually get your hands on it, it's like, oh, this is very easy. There's never a guarantee that you'll get the move that you want. If you have a Smeargle active, you're going to need to use a sketch to advance the battle at some point, and that may be after a terrible move, like Tackle or Splash. Sure, you could always have him not switched out and wait for the right moves, but who knows when those could be. During that time, you'd just have a hole in your party, basically, and considering that you'd never switch out, it would probably fall behind in level anyway. Then there's no guarantee that if you found the right move, you'd be able to survive long enough to copy it. But back to if you do have to copy a bad move. You won't be able to get another sketch for 10 more levels unless you go to the move tutor and trade a heart scale for a past sketch. Point is, it's really hard to properly train a Smeargle to be effective. You'd need to go out with the express purpose of finding moves for it, and at that, using it at just the right time in battle. Also, going back to how that speed is an asset, being faster than the opponent gives you more control over what you copy. By the time it's your turn to select a move, you already know what the opponent last used. If you're faster, you'll copy that move that you already know. However, if you're not, then you'll just end up copying the move that the opponent will use this coming turn, leaving it up to guesswork, basically. It's all pretty risky and based on circumstance. But down to the main question this video brings up, is Smeargle worth it to train? Well, it's probably dependent upon a number of factors. The first is whether or not you have a good copyable moveset accessible to you. If you're in a game where no Pokemon have the moves that you want to put together, probably something like Gold and Silver due to the more limited number of moves, considering the time and effort you need to put into Smeargle, it's not really worth it. However, if you have access to a newer game, maybe like Black 2 and White 2, Gen 6 and Gen 7 games, you have a larger source of moves to copy with online battling, larger worlds, and new Pokemon that brought new moves with them. If that's the case, then I'd say go for it. Also, it seems like a better Pokemon to train after beating the game because if you're playing through the story, you're limited to the Pokemon that you encounter in the linear way the story works. Whether or not Smeargle is worth it all depends on your game and desired moveset, basically. But those are only my observations, and this Pokemon can be used differently, so what do you think? What are some good strategies for Smeargle? Please leave a comment down below for that, or for a suggestion for another controversial Pokemon to look at. You could also subscribe to see videos like this twice a week. Regardless, live stream number 3 is coming soon, and I will see you in the next video.